Well, I've lived in Riverton all my life, and that's over 70 years. There's still a lot of people that would like it just left as it was, because we're all set in our ways. The Guytons moved into the Thames Street about, it must be about 23 years ago, and they are now my neighbours. They have got strange ways. The garden is, they call a garden, to us is just a mess, because we're used to putting everything out in little rows and little circles, but theirs is just everywhere.
In Southland there's not many food forests. I think we're the only proper food forest in the South Island, and so it is different, and you have to have confidence in what you believe in and go for it anyway, regardless of what people think, to make a difference. When we first came to Riverton, we were young and full of confidence, and so we felt that we were happy to do our own thing in spite of criticism from the community. And we did things like, for example, we took all our gorse and broom down on our land because we wanted to make a good impression to show that we can control gorse and broom without chemicals.
Of course, we were going up and having a look, because even that was unusual. You have to spray the broom and the gorse. You don't go around cutting it.
People did everything very conservatively, so they thought that spraying their gardens was fine and that lawns are really important.
It was just the thing to do. You just got out to spray and sprayed it, everything you could see. But these strange people had come amongst us.
Because we had said quite clearly, we're into organics, we're happy to do it without spraying, people put us in a category. And so we had to live with that prejudice from those people.
They had a lot of advice, but they went their own way. And of course, this too wasn't the normal thing to do. You asked your neighbours to come and help and took their advice, but no, these were people, hippies, I think you'd call it in those days. Quite hippie, like we would think that way.
The farm started in my mind when I was young, because my grandmother had this beautiful property, and when we were young he didn't ask for food because you're too polite, you had to wait till meal times. But at her house you go out and find walnuts under the walnut trees, or carrots or berries. There's always something to eat. I wanted that for my children.
Permaculture is quite different from agriculture. We're looking at not just production in terms of inputs and outputs, which is the way that a lot of agriculture works. You know, fertilizers, input, and then what you get out, which is food or money. But the way that we look at it is increasing the abundance of life, increasing the amount of insects and bird life and things, as well as producing more food. Because we're building soil, what we're doing probably much more than sustainable, because we're increasing the potential for the life that can be here. So yeah, it's quite a different approach.
Being non-greeny, it's hard to understand how that they can have such a variety of things. What we would call weeds are herbs to them.
The best thing about controlling weeds is realising that they're not weeds at all. They're plants that you can use in some ways, and if you have the diversity in the plants, then you have diversity in insects, and then your place becomes in balance.
I went up there, I was standing there, and I thought, well, that's unheard of. It's quite hilarious, really. We couldn't understand it. We'd never had experienced anything like that. They were odd.
90% of the community didn't really understand what we're doing. So it was nice when we started an organic group because we met the people in the community who also thought like us. Suddenly, the Environment Centre was on the main street of Riverton, and people thought, oh, they've got a building, they sell food there. At the start, not many people came in. It was just really the people in their group. But over time, as thinking has changed and people realised the value of what we're doing, now it's a very busy place, and I'd say probably 50% of Riverton people come in for one reason or another.
I've only been in it twice, but it's where the people are learning a lot about the organic things, and this is a plus.
My vision for living a lifestyle a bit like the Waltons and living in a little cottage with the fruit trees and the berries and the hens and has happened. It's also been mixed up with other members of my family with their dreams and passions. Robert's bringing in the diversity of plants, and our son Adam has a real passion for seed saving and vegetables, and so now he comes back home working with his vision, which is to have our place also very productive for vegetable gardens.
Growing up here was interesting because, well, especially now that I'm older, when I go out into the world and see what other people's living conditions are like and what their land is like, it's, well, not depressing, but it's just like, wow, do you not realise what it can be like?
Now we're realising that it's an established food forest, and I hope people have thought, oh, it did work. You know, the Gaussian broom is gone for their place and they didn't use any chemicals. And it's our time to encourage the young families to grow their own food.
I'd be very proud if one of my grandchildren was to grow a garden and it was organic. I'd like a grandchild of mine to be without all the poisons, because there is quite a lot of chemicals now.
Hopefully we've been food for thought.